All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. We're going to go ahead and get started today with our presentation. My name is Mike Booth. I'm the technical director at Inorganic Ventures. And today I'm going to talk to you about a new line of products that we're excited to be launching. They are reagents for discrete analyzer instrumentations. So we're going to walk you through exactly what we're offering. And then Maddie Marshall, our senior marketing person, is going to walk you through some of the marketing materials. So we are going to get started this morning with sort of showing you exactly what the new products are, and then we're going to give you some background information on what the discrete analyzer instrumentations, what they are, how do they work, and who uses them. And then we're going to go into a little bit about the benefits of these new products and how they are a little bit more competitive than people that are making up these reagents themselves. So next slide, please. All right, so we are starting off this product line with 4 new products, and you'll see them on the left hand of the slide. The catalog numbers, I'll start with DA-. These are the discrete analyzer reagents that will cover the chloride, sulfate, and phosphate methods. The prices you see there are the list price. And if you have any pricing questions, you'll want to talk to Amanda Miller, which she's also on this presentation. So she'll be happy to answer any questions you might have at the end. So these reagents also pair really well with our existing certified reference materials. So these methods that they work with are certified reference materials for chloride, sulfate, and phosphate. Are also the catalog numbers for those are listed on the right hand of the slide. And we'll talk a little bit more later in this presentation about how they pair together and, what they're used for in terms of this method. So these are the brand new products, and we're going to talk a little bit more. We'll be offering more reagents throughout the year, but this is where we're starting with this month, and we're really excited to be offering these out to everyone. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the discrete analyzer does. How does it work? So a discrete analyzer takes a lot of classical wet chemistry techniques and automates it into a nice little compact instrument that's really easy for end users to use. So basically, the end user will have a sample or a bunch of samples. Those samples will be mixed with these reagents that we're introducing. And then they'll be held at the proper time and temperature, and the mixture of the sample and the reagent will cause a reaction that should change the color of the sample. So let's say if you had a water sample that was clear, you did these reactions with the reagents and it turns into a shade of blue. That blue color is what the instrument will analyze to see how concentrated it is. And usually the deeper the color change, the more concentrated that the analyte is in that method. Next slide, please. So this gives a little bit more background as to how the certified reference materials that we offer are combined with the reagents. So keep in mind the reagents are necessary for that color change to happen, which is what the instrument analyzes. Our certified reference materials are necessary to construct calibration curves. So you'll see in this slide an example of a chloride calibration curve that was prepared using our ICCL1 product and in combination with these reagents. So you'll see they are combined in the instrument that create that color change that equates to the absorbance number on the y-axis. So really these reagents pair really well with the standards that were in the first slide, and you'll have marketing materials available that will go over all the part numbers for the standards, for the CRMs and the reagents. So you won't have to worry about that. We'll give all that information over to you. Next slide, please. These are the different types of discrete analyzers that you might see out in the lab or or your customers may say that they would have. These seem to be the most popular ones. So here's just some pictures of what they would look like, so you could recognize them or recognize the name. There are others out there for sure, but these seem to be the more popular ones. So again, this will be in the marketing materials that you'll get, but just to sort of, if you've heard of any of these instruments, this is the instrumentation that we're targeting with these reagents. Next, there we go. So I took a little bit of a close-up picture of our instrument. So we have one of the seal instruments in our lab, but I wanted to give you a little bit of, an in close look. So if you see one of these, you know exactly what's happening. They all work kind of the same. So what you have is we've highlighted where the samples and reagents are. Those always have to be loaded up into the instrument. And then usually what you'll see is some sort of reaction well, so where the samples and the reagents are combined. So you can see that on the bottom right corner is where we've highlighted it in this picture. And that sort of that sample arm right in the middle, that's pretty common. You'll see on a lot of instruments, they'll have some sort of arm or mechanism to take samples out of their sample cups, take reagents out, mix them together, and then they'll hold them for the proper time and temperature. And then usually there's some way to pull the sample out of those reaction wells, and then it gets brought up for its color test. So it's really a mixture of really compact automation sort of stacked on top of an old school spectrophotometer. So it's they're really neat instruments that can allow for a lot of flexibility in a lab. All right. So these are the audiences that are usually using discrete analyzers. It seems to be a lot of environmental labs, so a lot of water testing, a lot of soils testing as well. So agriculture and food testing labs as well. You want to keep an eye out for. They will probably have something like this. You might also see it in just general testing labs. And we are doing a little bit more research to see they are present in pharmaceutical labs, but they may not be using these exact methods. As we sort of run through the methods on our list, and as we go through the roadmap that you'll see a little bit later, we plan on trying to do a little bit more research on what exactly these are used for in pharmaceutical locations as well. So now we've sort of gone through the background on the instrumentation. I want to dive in a little bit more about what our products offer against our sort of main competition, which is people that are doing it themselves. So our discrete reagent bottle versus Dr. Do-It-Yourself. So when we first took this project on, we figured that we had a few challenges that we could help people overcome, help the end users out with time savings. So obviously, if we can provide them with a pre-made, ready-to-use solution, they don't have to spend the time in the lab to make it up themselves. We also, because of our accreditations that I'll talk about in a little bit later, we're really well positioned to do really good stability studies on these materials that are really kind of lacking in the standard methods that these chemistries are based on. And then our manufacturing processes allow us to have really good lot-to-lot consistency. And our CRM business allows us to provide really detailed documentation. So we figured these were the biggest opportunities we had to sort of combat people that are making it up themselves. So a little bit more on the time saving side. This slide sort of represents the steps that one would go through to create a chloride reagent themselves in the lab. So you'll see they'll have to take, 2 starting materials. They have to make 2 solutions. So they have to pull the starting material out of the bottle, weigh it, transfer it to a flask, dilute to volume. So they're doing that 2 times. Then they take each of those sub-solutions and combine them up, again, diluting, making sure everything is mixed, making sure that the solids are mixed in the solutions for steps, 2 and 4, and then finally making sure that everything is mixed together. They're going to have to take the weights of everything. They're going to have to record it. They're going to have to store it. All that stuff we can address by providing them a bottle that they simply just have to crack open and pour it into their whatever reagent container is in their instrument, and it's good to go. They won't have to go through any of these steps. And another thing this is for the chloride reagent specifically, and one of the things that we've noticed that will feed into the next slide is that chloride in the standard methods for this, the chloride reagent says it's good for about 3 months. We've been able to show it's good for much longer than that because of our stability study program. So just to talk a little bit more about our stability studies, because we sell certified reference materials, you guys probably know that were registered ISO 9001, ISO 17025, and ISO 17034. It's really that last accreditation, the ISO 17034, that requires inorganic ventures to have a very robust stability program. So we have to track long-term stability of our products and transport stability of our products. Because we already had that system in place, it really gave us a leg up to do really good stability studies on these new products and figure out exactly how long they would be good for and under what conditions. So the products that we're launching this week, this month, they are currently undergoing, they've been under a stability test, and they are currently still undergoing stability studies. We'll talk about that sort of a little bit later for exactly where they are in the process, but they are being stored at various temperatures and conditions. And then as they are pulled for testing, we are looking at how well the correlation coefficient of the calibration curves are. So how well does the curve fit look? And we're also looking at the raw data for the absorbances. So we want to make sure that we don't see, oh, the curve looks good, but if you look into the raw data, we're seeing absorbance numbers that are going down over time, and that could affect detection limits of the method. So we're really taking a hard look at the data and really applying some of the techniques that we use for our regular stability study for certified reference materials and applying that to these reagents in a way that, as far as we know, has not been done for these types of products in the past. Lot-to-lot consistency is also, I think, a big selling point for these products. So we have very tight, methods and procedures and protocols for manufacturing. So we can guarantee consistency lot to lot. But as we go through and, get more into these stability studies, we're also showing very good consistency within the lot over time. So you can see that this data represents, this is a sulfate calibration curve that was ran about 5 months apart. And you can see the absorbances lie pretty well on top of each other. So we're showing that over time, the lot itself is also consistent and not showing any degradation. So this is really important to have. This will help people maintain a constant baseline over time, especially if they're ordering, a few bottles and they're using it all the way through the shelf life of the product. This can really help them troubleshoot problems without having to jump through a lot of hoops or having to spend a lot of time remaking reagents, because they'll know that ours is good. All right, and lastly, we have really some detailed documentation, some product documentation. Again, because we already have the background in certified reference materials, we have we know exactly what should go in this product documentation, and this is very detailed against what you would see in the competition for these products. So as part of the documentation, we have the exact reagent composition. So it will say exactly what is in that solution and also give the source of the method chemistry. So in this example, it cites an EPA method. Maddie's going to go over some of the marking materials that'll also show it's not just based on one method. There are several, but for the documentation, we're putting the main one that we based it off of. So you'll have that information of the methods that it will cover. We also give you a sample calibration curve. So you can see that calibration curve was generated using that exact lot of material. And then we also give a little bit more information on the absorbance, the raw data that was used to construct that calibration curve. So you'll see the raw absorbance data as well as acceptance limits to make sure that they pass within our criteria. So again, this documentation is really robust, and it makes it easy for the end user because they have it all. They can easily file it. So if they get audited or anything, they have it, right there. There's no question as to how it was made or who made it, or what it was made from. All the information for the lots are right there. Okay. So we have just sort of started on this. Well, we haven't just started. We've been working on this project for a long time. But as we sort of launch these products, we're just getting started. So as I mentioned, we're launching the chloride, sulfate, and phosphate methods. So you can see that those have 6 months of stability data on them. We are waiting to sort of officially launch these for sale until they have at least 6 months of data. So you'll see sort of following behind them is going to be ammonia and hardness. These stability studies will continue on through 2023, as well as adding brand new methods that are not on that list, such as alkalinity, cyanide, fluoride, chromium, and a few more. So we'll definitely be busy throughout the year, and you should see as these products hit their 6-month point, we'll get everything ready to make a production lot and have these materials available for sale as they hit their stability milestones. Another thing on the roadmap is the ISO accreditation. So as of right now at launch, these products are only accredited to ISO 9001. We are undergoing the process to get them accredited to ISO 17025. That might be a little bit of overkill. We don't see a lot of reagents that are certified to ISO 17025, but we want to make sure that our products are of the highest quality. So we want to take that extra step, and that should happen. I'm hopefully before halfway through the year, at least, for these products. We just have to get them added to our scope, and then we can get them through our accreditation body and get them 17025 accredited. So this is really where we're sort of going for the rest of the year. And for the products that we're launching now, I'm going to hand it over to Maddie, and she's going to talk to you about the marketing materials that we have available, and then we'll take your questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. So before I touch on marketing materials, why do we feel confident about these products? Why should you feel confident and excited about them? So our research tells us that this instrumentation is growing, as well as the consumables with them. And that is due to increased regulations in the environmental sector, as well as government spending to protect the environment. And because of that, we're seeing a growth in the water analysis and the food and beverage industry, as Mike mentioned. And this instrumentation is kind of like the Aston Martin of wet chemical analysis. That's the really cool car that James Bond drives. It makes things fast and efficient. And this is a precise way of doing that multi-parameter analysis for the water and the food and beverage industries. So as you can see on that last bullet too, the projections for the instrument are expected to grow from 1.4 billion to 2.4 billion in the next 10 years. And then that same growth rate for consumables is also projected. So it does present, an exciting opportunity to jump into this space. Mike talked a lot about trying to avoid or trying to sway people that are making it themselves in the lab to purchase a pre-made reagent instead. But another thing that we've found is that there actually is not a dependable, reliable, already made product on the market. We've seen quality issues with other providers. They have lot inconsistency. We've heard of glass vials breaking in transit, short stability windows, and then also just limited availability and long turnaround times. So in addition to combating the DIY approach, we also have a unique opportunity to step in and sell these reagents to analysts that may have had bad experiences with other providers. There's also a lack of awareness about the benefits of pre-made reagents and how much time it can save an analyst. And then also, as Mike mentioned, we're expanding our product line, and we also have the complementing calibration standards. So there's a lot of opportunity to speak to customers about all the new things coming and the complementing products that we can offer. So now for the marketing materials, we've put together a lot of resources to help you as you're speaking with customers and going into labs. We have this pre-launch webinar as well as one on Friday that you're welcome to attend, and we'll provide recordings afterwards. We have a sales guide, which really talks a lot about the benefits of pre-made reagents, about who the end users are, what makes these products unique and in comparison to competitors. That's a great resource. We also have product flyers, web and social graphics to post everywhere, blog posts on the IV website. I know there's currently one live on the site now, and there's going to be a few more coming in the next month or so. We have the sample CFAs, and then we will have a launch video coming soon, which Mike has put together for us. So to find these materials, if you have never accessed the distributor portal or you do not have access to the distributor portal, please shoot me a message and let me know. But after logging in, you just hover over that top distributor section, scroll down and click welcome. And then all of these resources are located under the promotional materials tabs and campaigns. So you'll find them there all together. You can download as one zip file and get started using those. And as always, if there's anything that we are missing or could improve on, or that think would be super beneficial to your team, please let us know, and we'll do our best to get that over to you. And then with that, we will move into interrogation, or our Q&A session. So feel free to raise your hand in the chat and we can unmute you and let you speak, or feel free to type your question up in the Q&A box.
All right, looks like we have our first question in. Maddie, I think you'll probably be the best person to answer this. Will they be able to get a copy of this presentation and the slides?
Yes, absolutely. We will send the recording and the slides through email, hopefully right after this.
Perfect. All right. Looks like we have another question coming in from Michael. Maddie, do you know how to do the allow to talk? Is that it?
Yes. Let's see, Michael. Here we go.
All right. Michael, you should be able to talk. I think you just have to unmute.
Let's see, it looks like you put one in the chat, Mike.
Nope.
Is any of this testing being done in the cannabis testing industry?
Not that I'm aware of. That wasn't in the materials that we have seen. Usually in the cannabis industry, we've seen a lot of testing for heavy metals. So we do have some standards available already for that. You should be able to find those on the website, some of our CRM products. And then also in the cannabis industry, they seem to be testing for potency. So a lot of how much THC or CBD, that type of testing, which at the time we don't have a product for.
Okay, here's another one. Are you testing more than one brand of Discrete?
So we have done some testing on, so the answer is yes. We are testing in the lab. We're doing the stability study on one brand of discrete analyzer, but we have also sent samples out to other end users that are running different types of discrete analyzers, and they appear to be working as well. It's really going to be based on the method chemistry. So as you talk to your end users, you will want to pass along, there is sort of method specific marketing materials that will go over the exact composition of the reagent, as well as the methods that they're based on. So as you talk to your end users, you want to have them sort of review that. But we haven't seen much of an issue, because it really is, if it's doing the same chemistry, if it's generating that same color change, it should work out for them.
All right, thanks, Mike. And then one from Mark: when will prices be available? And I can pop that slide up really quick with the prices, because we do have that available. And as Mike mentioned, this is list price. And this will also be included in the distributor packet of information.
Can you all hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay, I unmuted. Thanks. I had a quick question for you. So have you done a cost benefit sheet, including labor, of a typical analyst who would be making these reagents, including the cost of chemicals, their time doing it, versus the pre-made solution that IV is offering? So that was, just to kind of show the cost benefit to a potential customer.
Yeah, that's a great question. We are actually working on that now. It's been brought up a couple times. We were thinking about just sort of throwing in the raw sort of, this is how long it should take. But we're going to work on a more detailed sort of, I think, one-page flyer that will sort of go over that information a little bit more in depth, and bring in some of those factors that you were mentioning, the raw material, essentially the waste if they have to dispose of it themselves, that sort of information.
Right. Thanks.
Mhm.
Okay, and then another one from Elster, would there need to be a cold chain? So I'm guessing for shipping.
So, good question. So we are recommending for the time being that these be stored in the fridge. It seems like that other pre-made reagents that are on the market are also requesting that they be stored in the fridge. We have stability data at room temperature. So we will not be cold shipping them out. That doesn't appear to be necessary. We haven't actually seen any degradation in our long-term stability at storing them at room temperature either. But we do notice that some of them might have a slight color change. It doesn't seem to impact how well they perform. So while we want to make sure that while these stability studies are undergoing, the slight color change in the reagent that we're noticing up front isn't a leading indicator that it might sort of have an issue as they hit their 9-month or 12-month testing windows. So as of right now, we are recommending them be stored refrigerated, but they don't have to be shipped that way.
All right, thanks, Mike. And then, a couple more coming in. Do they only come in 125 ml bottles?
Yes, at this time we are offering them in 125 ml bottles only.
Okay, and then a point to highlight from Gary. Thanks, Gary. Chloride reagents contain mercury, which if made in-house can present cross-contamination issues with low-level mercury analysis and environmental or water testing.
That is very true. Yeah, we will, that should be a part of the sort of the benefits, the cost savings, because there are other benefits to sort of having everything in-house, ready to go, or having a pre-made solution in-house ready to go, as opposed to having to make it up themselves. Another benefit that we've sort of realized as well is it gives the end user a lot of flexibility. Say they, get a sample and they want to run it for another testing method that they don't have the reagents prepped for. They can spend a lot of time, prepping up a different method's reagents. Whereas with these solutions, they essentially just have the bottles ready to go. They can run whatever tests they please with very little instrument setup time. Yep. Looks like we got one more in. So what is the shelf life? So the shelf life for these are starting off at 6 months. We will be updating as our stability studies continue to go through and continue to progress. So we are hitting 3-month intervals. So the first ones that we're launching should hit their 9-month stability period towards the end of February. So if all looks good at the end of February, we will update the shelf life for those products then, and you guys should get notified when that happens.
See a couple more here, Mike. Has any testing started for other flow type analyzers like injected flow, segmented flow, etc.?
Yeah, so we are taking a look at those now. The reagents are very similar. So the only difference is sort of, between those flow analyzers, it seems like they don't let the reactions that occur in those reaction wells go to completion. So we would need to modify the methods we have on our instrument to try to mimic it. Or if we can't do that, we might need to look at getting sort of that flow analyzer instrumentation in-house to do the stability studies. But the chemistry is very similar. So the chemistry is still causing the same reactions to generate those same color changes. So it's definitely something that we're looking at. We just don't have those options available at this time.
All right, thanks, Mike. So if I have methods for my discrete, could we look at making them ready-made?
Yeah, if you have other methods, so if you have, or your end users have methods that are really, a big pain for them, please pass them along to us so we can take a look at them. We are, like I said, we have lots of different methods that we have planned for this year, and more if it looks like that it's a good method that we can do in-house and create a pre-made solution for. So if you have any other methods, please send them along. But also keep in mind when you review those slides, we are working on several other methods as well that aren't launching at this time.
All right, thanks. Elster follows up and said, we supply discrete analyzers, so this is awesome news. That's great.
Perfect.
All right. Does it still have TCT?
That's an excellent question. So the answer is yes, they will be shipped out in TCT bags. The TCT bag is mainly there to protect them from light. So what we are worried about mainly is a chemical stability issue and not a transpiration issue. So the TCT bags will protect over time due to transpiration or loss of water that would cause a certified value to change over time. We are not really worried about transpiration with the reagents. We're more worried about a chemical instability. So they will be shipped in TCT bags, but again, that's mainly to prevent them from light. And that was one of the things that we kept constant through our stability study, was to protect them from light. It's one of the things that we're also recommending that for the time being, they be stored refrigerated, because that will, again, protect them from light. So the answer is yes, but not for our normal TCT reasoning.
All right, thanks, Mike. And thank you everyone for all the great questions.
Yeah, these are
Just
great.
keep them coming. We have another one from Yuri. Are there any reagents committing for tot P analysis?
So I think that's for total phosphorus. So if you have a method in mind, please send it over. So the method that we have is based off of orthophosphate, but a lot of people will, whenever they do their results, and I made a little bit of a note of it in the slide, they will analyze it as just phosphorus. So they will probably say that they are, they're using it to measure phosphorus. You just want to sort of check what method they're using now. It's probably the same method, because of all of the people that we've sent samples out to, they've always reported their answers back to us in terms of just phosphorus. But if there is a different method that you have, a different chemistry method, please send that info over to us and we'll definitely take a look at it.
Okay, and will there be customs offered?
That's another good question. So it is on our list. We want to get the reagents sort of done first, but we realized about maybe a month ago that this would be a good chance for us to also probably create some combined certified reference materials where someone could have, one reagent or one standard that would work for various methods. So that is in development as well. And with that is definitely much easier for us to accomplish in terms of stability and shelf life and all that good stuff than these discrete analyzer reagents are. So keep your eyes peeled for those, but those should be coming in 2023 as well.
Okay, great. Looks like just one more follow-up from Elster, I think in regards to the total phosphorus. Total needs digestion or ICP.
That's true. Yep. So if you are looking for true total phosphorus, you'll want to do that. It all depends on how the end user is describing it. So really those flyers that go over the method chemistries are key to discuss with your end users.
Okay, here's one more. There's one company that sells these pre-made kits. I guess, will the IV reagents be cost effective?
Cool. Good question. I'm going to let Amanda sort of take this one. She's the one that did the costing portion.
Oh, sorry, had to unmute myself. Let me turn my video on too so you guys can see me. So let me make sure I understand the question. There's one company that sells these pre-made kits. Will be cost effective. I'm not sure I understand what that question's asking. Are we going to sell them as total kits rather than the one-offs? Is that what you're asking, Elster? Well, right now, we're not looking at selling them as kits just because the number of tests that are used per 125 milliliter varies pretty substantially. One cell with kits. Okay, I think I'm answering the question correctly then. So the amount of tests that can be run per 125 per method it varies pretty significantly. So I think if we sold them as kits, could turn to be problematic, because I think we'll see a higher usage on some of the methods than others. So right now we're not looking to do that, but we will. It is set up on the website so that you can kind of build your own kit. And so as you're purchasing one of the reagents, they're all there, so you can add them to your basket all at one time. And if that did not answer your question, please email me directly. I'm happy to discuss that a little more.
All right. Looks like we got another question come in. Are all reagents, are they made for the, essentially, I think the whole range, or is there a separate high and low version? That is an excellent question. So on that roadmap for silica, there is actually, this is the first one that we've come across where there is a separate high and low version. So for the chloride, phosphate, and sulfate, we are offering just the one that should take care of the whole range. And again, there is more information in that marketing materials that goes over the method chemistry about that range and what it'll look like. But for the first ones, there is not a low and high, but there will be with silica probably being our first. So you will see that as we launch more throughout 2023. That's an excellent question.
I'm going to put Michael on here again. I think he's got a question.
All right, Michael, I think you just have to unmute.
Sorry, no question. Must have hit it by mistake.
No worries. All right. Does anyone else have any other questions? All right. Well, if not, you guys certainly know how to get a hold of us, and we really thank you all for your time this morning. We're really excited to be bringing these out. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to any one of us. We'll be more than happy to answer, provide more information. If you guys have any other methods that you like, as you sort of reach out and talk to your customers, if you hear anything back, please let us know, and we'll do our best to try to help you guys out as you talk to more folks.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you all.